Welcome, Church of the Rockers. This is your visual tech training video, and I am your host, Christopher Wall. Let's get started. Okay, so you're going to have two computers when you get to your location. The first computer is going to be for your lyrics. It's dedicated to putting lyrics on screen, putting Kids Rock's numbers on screen, pastors' names, all that kind of stuff. And the software we use for that is called Pro Presenter. So that's what this laptop, or that's what this computer is going to be for. Your second computer is going to be for downloading the message. So that's going to be downloading your message onto this hard drive, and then we're going to display it on the screens for the congregation. So here is your third monitor. It's called a multi-view, and it actually is a visual guide to switch between both computers. So right here, this, like I said, this is Pro Presenter. This is the software we're going to use. So in our first little box here, you can see it says Pro Presenter there. So this laptop is displaying right there. The second laptop is our streaming computer. We're downloading the stream to display to the congregation. So right here, it says Stream. So those are our two computers. And so right now, it says Stream is actually live. It's red. So that's in the live section, which is Program. And green is getting ready to be live. So it's in our Preview section. So that's there. So we're going to start with the message here and just how to download that. So once you get into your streaming computer, there's going to be an icon for the software we use, and this software right now is called Multisite. So we can double click on that, and as we get into the software here, it's actually very simple to use. Make sure we're on the queue section here, and we're just going to go ahead and click for new session. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Once you do that, you're going to see today's date, and then it's as simple as clicking Start Download. So once we've done that, we're going to see in the corner here, grayed out, we're going to see 3 zeros. These are going to begin to grow. So we're actually, as you can see right now, it's grown to 10 seconds. So we've downloaded our first 10-second chunk. So as we do that, as it gets to 5 minutes, it's going to automatically refresh. So right here it says Step 2. This is going to be our window to view and to queue up the message that we're downloading. So we're going to wait for that to do its thing, but there's actually also a second hard drive we have here. This one has the location that we're using it for on it, and this is our backup. So if there's ever anything wrong with the download, ever anything wrong with the video files, or something's not working with the internet, we have a backup. And what this is for is to display to our congregation if, like I said, it's not working. So this is from our Saturday service. So we use this, just plug it in with a FireWire or whatever, however you plug it in at your campus, and it's just going to appear on your desktop. So we can just minimize this while it's downloading, and we're going to double click on our hard drive here, and we can see our service here. And if we open it, what's actually going to happen is it's going to open it up here in QuickTime, and we can see that we have a video right here. So if we ever need to use this, all we need to do is we're going to drag it over, and we're going to drag it onto our multi-view. So on your on-site training, you're going to learn a whole lot more about that, but that's just our backup. So now you know where that is, and we'll get back to that later. So this is downloading, like I said. We've got already 2 minutes and 40 seconds downloaded. We're going to continue to wait because it's not till around the 25-minute mark, give or take, where our sermons actually begins to start. So that's where we're going to have to wait for about 25 minutes. So we'll let that download, but let's move on over to our Pro Presenter computer. Like I said, Pro Presenter is the software we use to display the lyrics. So let's just go ahead and open that. And just so I'm ahead of the game, I'm just going to go and switch this over for a second. I'm going to explain this later to you guys, but we're just going to switch over to Pro. Remember how I said Program was live? So I just made our Pro Presenter Mac live. So as you can see, it's turned black here. If we go over into Pro Presenter, we have black on our screen here. So that's what I just did, just to get us set up for this. So once you open Pro Presenter, there is a playlist section. And more times than not, there's going to be a previous service already here. And what we can use that for is a cheat sheet to kind of know, okay, how did you set this up? Let's set it up the same way for this service. So we have an April 10th playlist here. So first of all, let's go to this little gear and let's open a new playlist or create a new playlist. Put today's date. Today's April 11th, so I'll name it April 11th. So at our cheat sheet here, we see that there's announcements, and what we do for announcements is after we've done our practice with the worship service, or after we've done our practice with the worship team, we practice for a few hours, they take a break, we take a break. We put this announcement, we begin this announcement PowerPoint as people walk in, begin to sit down in the sanctuary, begin to fellowship. We just have these announcements rolling on screen as people begin to come into the church. So that's what that's for. So for the announcements, let's just drag them right on in to our playlist, because that's usually the same. So yeah, our announcements are actually getting dragged in from a section in our video image bin, which is PowerPoints. And somebody is going to, these actually automatically update. So you're going to open your ProPresenter, and this is already going to be here. Somebody's going to already have these updated for you, ready to go. So it's dragging all these slides here, and it's using them in here. So like I said, we drag that in there. And the next item is our countdown. So our countdown is a 5-minute countdown, and it's for before the service starts. So it kind of gets everybody into the sanctuary, get ready for the service to start. So just go over here into the video image bin. Like I said, these are already here for you. You can choose whatever makes sense for the specific season you're in. So let's say it's fall. Let's drag in a fall countdown into our April 11th. So now we have announcements, we have a countdown, and let's go back to our cheat sheet here. A third one is names. So what names are used for is the pastors. When they begin to speak, I just drag that in there. When they begin to come up and speak at the beginning of the service, say, hey everybody, welcome to Church of the Rock. I hope you're all doing great. Let's get ready to praise and worship. We can just bring up that pastor name, and that's going to come up on screen right there. So we'll bring up that pastor name as they begin to speak, about 10-15 seconds. You can leave it up. And then what we're going to do is push F1. And F1 is a hotkey for ProPresenter, and it's going to clear everything. Once you push F1, it's going to take that right off screen and get ready for whatever you're going to do next. So like I said, let's go back to our cheat sheet and let's see what's next in line. So we have a worship song. So where we get these worship songs is we're going to actually need to go onto the internet and go onto something called Planning Center Online. So that'll be explained to you as well in person, but we call it PCO for short. And on PCO, we have everything you're going to need for your service. So you go onto PCO and you're going to see praise and worship songs. So these are the 4 songs for our service that we're going to need. Here's our announcement section. These are all the announcements that our pastor is going to talk about. And then it's just going to say, hey, we're going to have an offering and a sermon as well. But we're mostly looking at our praise and worship section, and we're looking at our announcement section. So we're on PCO. We see Let Our God Be Praised is the first one. That's the first song that we're going to be singing. So let's go back into ProPresenter. And right here in our library section, we're going to type in this little search, Let Our, and we're going to see it's already filtered Let Our God Be Praised. So just click on that, and let's drag it right into today's service, which is April 11th. There it is, popped up right there. And this is your main view here. So as you click on these items in your playlist, you see them pop up here. You're going to actually just click on that first slide, and that's going to bring up the initial slide. So the worship team is going to begin to play. You'll bring up that first slide. It's got copyright information on it. And as they begin to go into the first verse, we're going to just push the arrow key. So this is I'm going to give you a quick overview on how to do a worship service. We're going to go much more in depth in person, but this is a quick overview on how you would actually do a worship service, a praise and worship service. So let's go ahead, and we clicked on that first slide. And the arrow key is what we're going to use most of the time, just to go to our next slide. So let's push this right arrow key, and it's going to bring up our first lyrics. And there they are right there. And like I said earlier, we use F2 and F1 to clear. So F2 is actually going to clear our lyrics right off screen, and we're going to use F2 a lot. And then F1 is, if I push F1, it would clear that as well. But you're also going to see in this song here that there's little letters on some of these slides here. And what these are also hotkeys. So if ever you see your worship leader giving hand signals like this means chorus, or that means verse 2. Let's say they're making things up on the fly and you need to look up at them and they do this, C. You're like, oh no, they want to go back to chorus. So what you do is you'll actually click the C key, and that's going to jump us right into the chorus. So even if you cleared off your lyrics, that hotkey is going to bring up the new background, the new lyrics, so you've already got into your song with a hotkey there. So that's a basic overview of how to do a worship service. Very, very simple. So like I said, F2, that'll clear off your lyrics, and then you just push F1. Let's say they're on the outro of their song, you can leave that visual up, and they begin to fade out into their next song. You can push F1 to clear it. So yeah, let's go back to our playlist here. And we only have one song in here. Let's go back to PCO in our browser here. And so we see our second song is In Jesus' Name. So we can go back to Pro Presenter, our little library section here. We'll click or type in Jesus, and you can see it's already filtered in Jesus' name. Click it, we'll drag it into our today's service. And there we go. So now we have announcements, we have our countdown, pastor names, and we have the praise and worship songs. So let's go over into our cheat sheet here, and we can see we can do 2 more, but we're just going to skip past that. You would put in all 4 songs, of course, and then we have the announcements that are still needed. So let's go back to PCO and let's see what announcements we need. It says here, Foundations class, women's breakfast. These are all the announcements that our pastor is going to be talking about. After the 4 songs are done, the pastor is going to come up. We can put up that name again. He's going to begin to talk about different announcements, different events in the church, and that's when we're going to bring up these slides. So first one is Foundations class. So let's go back to Pro Presenter, and in our PPT folder here, this is, like I said, this is always going to be updated for you. So let's go in here and let's look for Foundations. So we see right here, it says Foundations. We can see Foundations of the Rock there. We'll just click on this thumbnail and drag it right into our today's playlist. So there's our first one, Foundations. Let's go back to PCO. We see that there's Women's Breakfast is the next one. Let's find Women's Breakfast. We see here it's Women's Brunch, so a little bit different, but there's nothing else that has women's and breakfast in it. So here's Women's Brunch. Let's throw it in here. And so this is basically how we make our service, and that's that. So let's click on Foundations. So as the pastor begins to talk about things, you'll see visual and verbal cues. He'll say, hey, has anybody heard about coming to Foundations class? And as you hear the word Foundations, you can bring up that slide by clicking on this big play button, and that's just going to bring it right up. And as he begins to talk about that event or that class, keep it up. He's going to go on to the next thing. So then you can go on to Women's Brunch. You can click on your little playlist here, and then just go ahead and click this big play button again, and that's going to bring you right into Women's Brunch. So he's going to keep on doing that. Just keep up with him, and as he talks about it, bring it up. And then, after all that is said and done, there's going to be an offering song. It's usually the first or second song the worship team will play again. And they'll just play, maybe they'll play through the first couple verses. So you'll go through the first verse. They'll begin to fade out of the song. They'll begin to clap. As you begin to see that happening, we're going to have to quickly push F1. So we're going to clear everything off the screen. We're going to quickly go into our switcher. So like I said, program, that means live. That's what's live. So the little pro button is red. We're live. This is our preview. So streaming, this is what's getting ready to put on our screen. So as the worship or as the offering is over, we're going to have to push this auto button. And what this auto button is doing is it's actually switching from this laptop to this laptop. So we push that button and it fades it over. So let's go ahead and push that button. And as you can see, it's faded from our preview into our program. And as that happens, we would have our video already loaded up. But let's go ahead back to this and let's see how our video is doing. So we've downloaded 24 minutes already, and you can see 20 is here. So we can just click refresh to get that full 24 because we haven't reached the 25 minute chunk. So we got 24 ready. So what we can do is just go into this little minute category. Let's type, I don't know, let's say 23 and push enter. and then we'll push the play button. And we can see that the sermon hasn't started yet. It's still the announcement section. So we still need to wait for a little more of the download to go. So let's push pause, push refresh again. So we got 25 minutes, 20 seconds. Let's see if 25 minutes will do the trick. 25, 0, 0. Let's push enter and then play. And sometimes it doesn't work because it's finicky. So let's push enter a couple more times. And no, still not yet. We still need to wait a little while till the sermon begins to start. But let's say, for example, this is the beginning of our sermon. This is the exact point that we want. We're actually going to click this button here, send to player. And what that's going to do is bring us to our step 3 here. So see, it says step 3. We've done step 1. We started it. Step 2, we've queued it up. We got the exact point we need. And now we're on step 3. So here is our QuickTime URL. All we need to do is click copy. It's going to tell you right here, hey, we've copied it to your computer's clipboard. You're ready to play. So let's go over to QuickTime 10, and we're going to open that up. What we're actually going to do is going to go File, Open Location, and what that's going to ask you for is that link that you just copied. So we can just go ahead and push Command V, and that's going to paste our link there. Push Enter, and it's going to open our video right to where we have queued it. That's exactly where we queued it. Let's say, like we said, this is the beginning of the sermon. We're ready. Usually it would be black because we want to fade into what we're going to watch. So let's say this is a black screen. We're going to actually move it on over to our multi-view. But the thing is, see, we've already switched over. Let's go ahead and switch back because we would actually preview this, or we would actually prepare this long ahead of the time. We would prepare this probably before the worship even started. So let's move it onto this screen. And then what we're going to do is there's one final step, and that's just clicking on, as you can see, QuickTime is active, right? We have QuickTime up in the corner here. We're going to go to View, Fit to Screen, and that's going to keep it into our screen perfectly so we don't see any of these playheads or anything that's happening. So it's ready to go. And like I said before, let's say the offering is done, everybody's clapping, and I said, hey, let's quickly get into our switcher. So we do that, and as we begin to do that, we're going to push auto, and that's going to switch us right back into our sermon. So now we're ready to play the sermon, or now everybody's watching the sermon already because we pushed auto, we pushed play, and it's ready to play. Well, guys, that's it. That's the visual tech position in a nutshell. We want to thank you so much for being interested in being a visual tech here at Church of the Rock. It is you guys who run the show. Everybody here at Church of the Rock, majority of them are all volunteers. They run the show. So we want to thank you so much for your interest. And the next step is for you to talk to your campus tech. Figure out when you're allowed to shadow, when you're allowed to learn more, when you're allowed to be trained on site. And we just look forward to you blossoming and being a great part of this team. And yeah, thank you so much, you guys. God bless.